Before using any kind of module, you always need to do a basic configuration. In some modules, you'll have more configuration than others. In the case of the policy module, you have at least three things to consider. The first thing is to customize the form. So when you're using eramba, you should always try to see what the form looks like, the form for that module, and see which fields you want to use, which fields you feel like you won't be using. The customization I will be doing here, and in my case, I don't really use tags and I don't use labels, so my form doesn't really need those things. Now, when I go back to the policy module, another thing I like doing here is on the review tab, so the place where I store all my reviews. I like documenting how long the review actually took, so in terms of time. Time is money, and we want to keep track on how much time we're spending doing reviews. So I would typically add a field on my reviews. Yes, I always use drop downs because they're easy to then search using filters. So say under 1 hour, under 2 hours, about 3 hours. I'm just gonna put these options. Select how long it took to complete this review. I'll make that mandatory as well. Now, the reason I do that is because when you complete, when you look at a review record, you do have the planned date and the actual date. So the difference between these two dates will be the elapsed time of that review. But if you want to look at the actual time it took to do the review, so the actual time spent doing that, then you need that extra field. So that's why I add the field. So if I add now a review, you see, I will be able to document how long that review took. What I will also do is adjust my filters because I want that column to be seen by default. So custom fields, I want to show these on my filters. I'm gonna make that default change. And I'm gonna move that all the way to the beginning. Very good. Well, that's what I would say in terms of customization. That will be my preference right here. Now, the second type of customization you need to do in the policy module is the policy portal. The policy portal is a place where you can optionally display where your policies will be shown. So every time you add a policy, the policy portal by default will be disabled. Will be the place where people can see those policies. So here is the link, and I'm gonna open that now in an incognito window. And you can see that here I have my policies. When I click in one of them, eramba will pop up this. I'm using URLs for my policies, but if I have the content will have been shown here. Now, the question is whether you want this policy portal to be shown or not. By default, it's disabled. So you go here, policy portal authentication. You, in this case, have it enabled, so you could disable if you want, and then here you can choose whether not to have any kind of authentication or you want to have LDAP authentication. So you see, those are the options you have for your policy portal. When you create a policy, every policy will have an option for you to decide whether that policy in particular has to be shown on the portal. Yeah, so private means it will not be shown even if the portal is active. Public, open to anyone without authentication, or otherwise LDAP authentication will be required. Now, once we have our policy portal set up, the next setting you want to do is the document types. In eramba, when you upload a policy, I'm gonna show you now, when you upload a policy, you need to put the policy into some type, and these are the types we have here. Actually, checklist is not one of the default types, so I'm going to add that now. So you go policy, standards, and procedures, but if you want to add different types, you can, and you do that in here. So document types, you go add, and you simply add a type. So when you create a policy, you will have it there. Things like diagram or templates or contracts could also be added in here. So that's it. That's what we have for the configuration of the policy portal module.